Wow, wasn't that amazing? Has anybody been part of a parade before or seen a parade? Any of you? Yeah?
I saw Disney.
You have been to Disneyland, to the parades there? Yeah. Well, it's exciting to watch. You've seen one before, Ethan. This was exciting. What did you think of this one? What did you think of this parade in church? Awesome. Did you? And Logan, you did? You saw who in the parade in Disneyland? Everyone. Did you recognize anyone in the parade? No? Probably some Disney characters. Did you recognize any characters this morning in our parade? Who did you recognize, Islan? Yourself. You were in the parade. That's great. Anybody else? Did you recognize anyone else? Ethan? Did you recognize any of the people in the parade? Yeah, you saw some people that were in our choir, that you recognized, right? Well, did you recognize any of the names that they sang about, that people in the March of History, the parade of the church? Did you recognize any of those names they sang about? Anybody out there recognize any of the names, Declan? Moses, you heard Moses, very good. And Jeremiah, who is a prophet. Anybody else recognize a name that was sung about? There was a John Knox, that's right. Yes, a very famous reformer in the church. Well, and I think over the last few months, we have been meeting some people who were very important in helping this church of First United to get started. And I think some of them were part of the parade too, if I'm not mistaken. Why, I think that A.B. Knox is with us here. He's the man who donated the land that this very church is on. And it was ranch land, wasn't it, A.B.?
Yes. What do I do with this?
Oh, just hold it close to your mouth. Yes.
Yes, it was my ranch, and it went all the way up the mountain, which is named after me, by the way.
Oh, Knox Mountain, of course, named after you.
Yeah, yes.
So not the famous John Knox that was in the song, but you.
That's right.
And
I want to let you know, too, that I gave $200 to get the first church established. I want you to know that, too.
Wow, $200. I bet you that was a lot of money in that day, yeah. And the very first church that was here, that was on the corner of this building, wasn't this beautiful brick building that we're in right now, but it was big enough for the Presbyterian congregation that worshipped here, well, for a time anyway, till they outgrew it. It didn't take too long to do that. I think, actually, that you might know something about that, Mr. Sutherland.
Indeed, I was here in 1928 when we laid the cornerstone of this church, which you can see to this day out there.
Oh, and that church was called Knox United, wasn't it?
Knox United.
It
yes.
still bore your name, sir. Yeah,
That's
until
great.
the church joined in 1925, the United Church of Canada, and then we became first. And Mr. Sutherland, you were a member of the congregation when they built the hall, and where we're going to have coffee and the fair afterwards. Isn't that right?
Indeed.
Oh, okay. The congregation was growing, though, and it needed more space, and I think I recognize somebody else who might know something about that. Aren't you the Reverend Braden?
Yes, I am.
And tell us about, sorry, Mr. Braden, I leaped ahead, because
yes.
this beautiful woman in front of you here, well, I'll get her to introduce herself first. This is, you're Blanche Simpson, aren't you?
I am, yes, Mrs. Perry, I am, and I'm so glad to be here once more. And I was here in 1945 when we formed a committee to build the extension to the hall. We needed an addition. We had so many kids, lots and lots of children, and we were bursting at the seams. We needed more space. Now, I was part of the Women's Federation in those days. It used to be called that. Now it's the United Church Women, or UCW. And oh my, we were very, very busy in the 40s. Now, in my day, it was the men who made the decisions around the church. But let me tell you that it was the women who did a lot of the work of the church.
Strong women leaders like you, Mrs. Simpson, have always been part of this congregation. You helped to build it up and encouraged it to grow. And that's why we've named the library after you. We did, the Blanche Simpson Memorial Library. And you're all invited to stop by and have a look in it during the coffee hour today in the hall. But this other distinguished gentleman, Reverend Braden, I've already introduced you, but you were one of the ministers here in the church a very long time ago. Isn't that right?
That is right. It is, and I am. It was a very long time ago, long before you were born, I expect. Yes, I was the minister here in 1916.
Oh, really? A long time before I was born. Yes.
And and it surely is nice to be back here in this lovely brick building.
Indeed, it was built in, and I understand you came back. It wasn't here in 1916 or 1908. The church was built, but you came back in 1945.
In
was
1945,
for an
I
anniversary of something?
I did. There was a 35th anniversary, actually, and of course there had been lots of changes since my time here. The choir used to sit right here at the front of the church. And instead of over there in the corner. However, as you say, it was 1945, and I had a chance to come back and help to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the building, or of the construction of this brick church. And it was so good to be back in the sanctuary again. It was about this time of year as well.
Oh yes, I think it was October,
yes.
if I've read that correctly. And something really impressive happened when you came back for the anniversary.
Well, that was the other exciting thing that happened, is that they also took the occasion to celebrate the burning of the mortgage of the church hall. Now I think perhaps the children are looking a bit concerned here. Okay, it wasn't the church hall that we were burning. No, we were celebrating burning the paper that had the loan that the congregation took out, because they had to borrow a great deal of money to build the hall, and they paid it all off, and so they got to burn the mortgage paper that said, "We're finished paying off the loan."
You mean the hall that was built in 1928? Well, that was just 18 years before that. So they raised all the money to pay off the debt that they owed to the bank for that big building?
They did. And that was quite a feat.
Indeed.
You know? But the people who made this church and who donated the land and donated the money and worked so hard to build this church, they were hardworking and faithful people.
They were. And in the story that Charlotte is going to read to us from the Bible today, Jesus is talking about what it takes to be his follower. People had been enthusiastically joining his group of disciples, and he's offering a word of caution to them, because they may have gotten caught up in the movement toward Jerusalem as if it was like a parade. And he knew it requires love and commitment greater than any relationship that we have. Let's hear that story now.
Figure the cost. One day, when large groups of people were walking along with him, Jesus turned and told them, "Anyone who comes to me but refuses to let go of father, mother, spouse, children, brothers, sisters, yes, even one's own self, can't be my disciple. Even one who won't shoulder his own cross and follow behind me can't be my disciple. Is there anyone here who, planning to build a new house, doesn't first sit down and figure the cost so you'll know if you can complete it? If you only get the foundation laid and then run out of money, you're going to look pretty foolish. Everyone passing by will poke fun at you. He started something he couldn't finish." Or you can imagine a king going into battle against another king without first deciding whether it is possible, with his 10,000 troops, to face the 20,000 troops of the other. If he decides he can't, he will send an emissary and work out a truce. Simply put, if you're not willing to take what is dearest to you, whether plans or people, and kiss it goodbye, you can't be my disciple. Salt is excellent, but if the salt goes flat, it's useless, good for nothing. Are you listening to this? Really listening? Holy wisdom, holy word.
Thanks be to God. Jesus was saying in that story that it takes a lot of work and faith as a Christian to be a follower of Christ. These people that we talked about in the song and through these stories that we heard of people who were part of this congregation had a lot of faith and trusted God and took risks so that we would have the church today. So thank you all for the part you've played. Many of these people had something to do with the building of this church, but a church isn't just a building. A church is people. And those who came before us, as well as those of us sitting here today. And on this Sunday, which we call Recovenanting Sunday, that is what we are celebrating, that we are committing ourselves again to being a community that worships God and gathers to listen to the word of God and follows in Jesus' way. And so we're going to sing a song about that right now, and it has some actions. Some of you probably know it. It's called We Are the Church. And the actions go like this. When we sing, I am the church, you point to yourself, and then you are the church. It's okay and not impolite to point to the other people around you. We are the church together, all who follow Jesus, and then you make a globe with your hands all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. And in the first verse, we're going to sing about people who are just born, or 90. And we're going to add a little word. There's sort of a breath right after we sing. I count if I am 9, or I count if I'm a baby, or 9, or just, what are those words again? We're just going to go forward one slide. Or just a baby. I count if I am 90, and we're going to shout out a name. It's like Lorraine McClarty. Can you say that? So I count if I am 90. Can you shout? Lorraine McClarty. Or 9, or just a baby. Because Lorraine turned 90 this year, and I think that's something to celebrate. So let's sing I Am the Church together. Let's stand for this.